Good afternoon, bonjour. First of all, let me express my best wishes to the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker. I always attended G7 summits with Jean-Claude, as you know, and I must say, I will miss him in Biarritz, and you will miss him too, I am absolutely sure. This is another G7 summit which will be a difficult test of unity and solidarity of the free world and its leaders. There is still no certainty whether the group will be able to find common solutions, and the global challenges are today really serious, or whether it will focus on senseless disputes among each other. The last years have shown that it is increasingly difficult for all of us to find common language when the world needs our cooperation more, not less. This may be the last moment to restore our political community. Today it would be especially urgent and essential to build our unity around the following challenges. First, the defense of liberal democracy, rule of law, and human rights, in particular in the context of the revival of nationalisms and new form of authoritarianism, as well as threats coming from the development of digital technologies, meddling in elections, fake news, using artificial intelligence against citizens and their freedoms. Second, climate crisis and the protection of natural environment, including forests and oceans. The burning Amazon rainforest has become another depressing sign of our times. We, of course, stand by the EU-Mercosur agreement, which is also about protecting the climate and environment, but it is hard to imagine a harmonious process of ratification by the European countries as long as the Brazilian government allows for the destruction of the green lungs of planet Earth. This is about our to be or not to be. At the same time, the EU is ready to offer financial help to fight the fires. 3, putting a stop to trade wars. Trade deals and the reform of WTO are better than trade wars. Trade wars will lead to recession, while trade deals will boost the economy. Not to mention the fact that trade wars among G7 members will lead to eroding the already weakened trust among us. 4, the threat of nuclear proliferation. The rejection of the nuclear deal with Iran by the US hasn't brought about any positive results. And the divisions in the Western world when it comes to this issue play into the hands of the Iranian Ayatollahs, as well as Russia and China. G7 leaders should make one more effort to find common language on this. 5, Russia's policy towards its neighbors, especially its aggression against Ukraine. 1 year ago, in Canada, President Trump suggested re-inviting Russia to G7, stating openly that Crimea's annexation by Russia was partially justified, and that we should accept this fact. Under no condition can we agree with this logic. When it comes to the speculations around inviting Russia to the table, I would like to say this. First, the reasons why Russia was disinvited in 2014 are still valid. What is more, there are new reasons, such as the Russian provocation on the Azov Sea. Second, when Russia was invited to G7 for the first time, it was believed that it would pursue the path of liberal democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Is there anyone among us who can say with full conviction, not out of business calculation, that Russia is on that path? Today, I will try to convince my interlocutors that it would be better to invite Ukraine, as a guest, of course, to the next G7 meeting to hear the opinion of the new president. I talked with him about it 2 days ago, and I know he would be very interested. Let me also say that the EU has concrete proposals for Africa. We are keeping our long-standing commitment to the Global Fund against AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis, and we will contribute 550 million euros to the replenishment of the fund. This means that our overall involvement will exceed 1 billion euros. I am also happy to announce that the EU will join the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, which is an important step in the fight for women's empowerment. The EU's contribution of over 85 million euros will help develop 100,000 businesses run by women. Last but not least, the EU will contribute an initial 1 million euros to the International Fund for Survivors of Conflict-Related Sexual Violence that Nadia Murad and Dr. Denis Mukwege, winners of the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize, will present to G7 leaders tomorrow. Also tomorrow, on the margins of the summit, I will have a meeting with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He will be third British Conservative Prime Minister with whom I will discuss Brexit. The EU was always open to cooperation. When David Cameron wanted to avoid Brexit, when Theresa May wanted to avoid a no-deal Brexit, and we will also be ready now to hold serious talks with Prime Minister Johnson. The one thing I will not cooperate on is no deal. And I still hope that Prime Minister Johnson will not like to go down in history as Mr. No Deal. We are willing to listen to ideas that are operational, realistic, and acceptable to all member states, including Ireland, if and when the UK government is ready to put them on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I now open the floor for your questions, and we start here in the second row with the gentleman, Ansgar.
Ansgar Hase, German press agency, DPA. President Tusk, French President Emmanuel Macron accuses Brazil's President Bolsonaro of lying about being committed to fighting climate change and protecting the Amazon forest. Do you share this view? And as President of the European Council, do you think that the European Union can sign the Mercosur agreement in these circumstances? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. When it comes to a future ratification process, I've said just 2 minutes ago what is my fear and what is my prediction about this process if Brazil and its president don't demonstrate a strong will to fight fires in the rainforest in Amazon. And of course, it's not my intention to discourage the Brazilian president to act positively, but I can understand this spontaneous and very natural reaction of the French president, and he's not alone here, as you know. I think it's a quite common opinion also among our our citizens. As you have realized, the opinion of the Brazilian president is changing about his opinion about the fire, and I hope that his latest declaration that he's ready to fight fires and that he's ready to cooperate also with us, with the United States, with Chile, that it matters. And but of course I will fully support President Macron in his proposal to raise this problem also among the G7 leaders today and tomorrow.
Thank you. And the next question goes to, yes, the lady in the first row.
President Tusk, Giovanna Pancari from Sky Italia. Today you will see also Prime Minister Conte, or better, former Prime Minister Conte, since he resigned a few days ago. So I would like to know your opinion on what he has done leading the Italian government in the past 14 months, if you hope to work with him again in the future, maybe in the same role or in another European role. And of course, if you have an opinion in general about the Italian political crisis right now. Thank you.
I hope that he's still a Prime Minister, because being here as our partner, yeah, I know the whole story. Of course, it's you know, I can say only positive things about Prime Minister Conte. I am not sure that this is the best method to promote his person now in Italy, but anyway, it's we became really good friends, very loyal to each other. He was always, extremely tough when defending Italian national interests, but at the same time, very responsible in reaching European solutions. In my personal experience, he was, and is, one of the best examples of loyalty, responsibility, and very, very nice sense of humor also.
Thank you. Le Figaro as well, please.
Good afternoon, Fabrice Naudet-Langlois from Le Figaro in Paris. I have a question on digital taxation, if you may. An agreement was reached last month in Chantilly with the finance ministers of the G7 on digital taxation or world taxation. Now, President Trump threatens to tax, among other things, French wine because of the unilateral French tax on digital companies. My question is that, do you think the French tax was a counterproductive move? And what's your take on this discussion here in the G7? Thank you.
I will protect French wine with a, genuine determination for many reasons. And of course, the EU stands by France. If the US imposes tariffs on France, the EU will respond in kind. The last thing we need and we want is confrontation, especially with our best ally, the United States, but of course, and this is not our initiative, this trade and tariff struggle, but we have to be ready also for this bad scenario, and we are ready as a EU as a whole, and France can count on our loyalty as all member states.
Just a follow-up. Do you think the fact that France has passed a unilateral tax is counterproductive?
It's a decision on the national level, justified formally and also when it comes to the substance. As you know, the EU as a whole has started its work on this. And if I remember well, also the new, of course, President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, decided also to put this problem to her agenda. And I am absolutely sure that we will be also, not only because of politics, not only because of solidarity, but also because of substance, we will be loyal towards France here.
Thank you, and I believe the last question goes to the gentleman here.
Yeah, hi, John Chalmers from Reuters. So over the last 24 hours or so, we've seen an escalation of the tariff impositions between China and the United States. Are you concerned that we're now seeing an escalation of a trade war which could become global?
I can only guess what is the real intention of the main actors of this conflict. I can agree with some politicians and also commentators that, of course, China is the biggest challenge for all of us, for many reasons. At the same time, what we need, and I'm talking about a global context, what we need is rather a cooperation than conflicts. For me, it's absolutely clear that if someone, for example, the United States and President Trump, use tariffs and taxation as a political instrument, tool for some different political reasons, it means that this confrontation can be really risky for the whole world, including the EU. This is why we need G7, and this is why we need our really frank and open discussion also about the intentions. And I hope that we will be wiser after our meeting here in Biarritz.
Thank you very much. This concludes the press conference.
Thank you. Bye.